Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the Yak-23. The Yak-23 is, for me personally, my 1000th vehicle that I unlocked. So all the more reason to give it a go and to throw it around in the skies of War Thunder. And what you see in this video is the pure stock performance without any sort of upgrade. No ammunition belts, no engine upgrades, no fuselage or wing upgrades, completely stock. And later on, the entire battle that I will show is the very first battle that I ever played. In the few matches that I already played, I figured out that this plane has insane performance. And it keeps that in performance at any altitude that I've flown so far. And I went up to 10 kilometers to hunt down B-29s. The Yak-23 is the fourth Yak jet for the Soviets, and with a battle rating of 7.3 after the Yak-15, Yak-15P and Yak-17. And like any other Soviet jet and many of the Soviet prop planes as well, it features 23mm cannons. Two of them, to name them, two 23mm NR-23 with 180 rounds in total. So I think in combination with the 10,000 Silver Lines repair cost for a stock plane and the battle rating of 7.3, we might see some readjustment of that in the near future. At least that's what I expect in the upcoming patches. And the reason for it is because it's just simply way too good. I might not be the very best player within War Thunder, but flying this thing myself is an absolute joy. So as a starter jet, I can recommend it. And if you don't perform well in this plane after 20-30 battles, you really should learn more about how to fly planes. Because in this case, it's not the plane's fault. In fact, to put it into simple terms, I think it's too powerful, aka it's overpowered. And I come to this conclusion playing the stock plane. And in the background now is the very first battle that I played in it, without any sort of test flight or test shooting or whatsoever. Just put it into a crew, expert the crew, and then give it a go. And I was just amazed how good the handling is. Yes, it wobbles a little bit around. Yes, the guns are not upgraded and some shells spark, but for a stock plane, you cannot really complain too much. And this is where I can straight out say this is stock bias, because I remember other nations' jets, how clumsy and heavy they feel, how slow they get to accelerate, how they lose performance at altitude, how much experience and time you have to put into the weapon systems up until they work. For example, the British Hispanos, when they are stock, they are not very good, to be very polite here. And yeah, let's just talk about how the plane really, how a battle goes. So you start from the runway and you accelerate like crazy. And you have also 112% booster that lasts you the entire game. At least for me, it has not run out yet. And it also lasts up to 10 kilometers. That was an altitude that I have pushed this plane so far. You keep the altitude performance, or you keep performance at any altitude. It doesn't really matter, even up to 10 kilometers. The plane accelerates. It has a top speed of over 930 kilometers an hour. It has no air brakes, and that is kind of a bit of a problem because it's really difficult to land. So even on a long runway, even if you deploy the landing flaps and so forth, it just doesn't want to lose speed. So I guess it has a very good energy retention. I've played so far around about 5 to 6 matches. And this is kind of a very first impressions, and it's a stock impression, so no upgrades whatsoever again. And I'm just shocked how the plane flies, how it climbs as well. You don't need accelerate to then zoom climb. Yes, it's still possible and effective, but you just can fly it like a prop. It doesn't really matter. It's very easy to use. And by now you should know how to lead and make the 23mm guns work. And this is one of the planes that actually can effectively, without too many issues, intercept B-29 bombers from the airfield. To deal with them and where to aim, for example, pilot snipe or sawing off a wing, that's up to you. Speaking of about sawing off the wing, yeah, the the flaps rip off quite easily, because at higher speeds, which you are mostly at, you just can't deploy any kind of combat flaps. As far as I know, you just have the landing flaps, and they rip off quite fast. So this is also kind of a drawback. But the plane overall feels like it doesn't really need any sort of upgrade. It might get better with upgrades. In fact, I'm quite sure it gets massively better, because I've seen other Yak-23 pilots flying it around, and they just out-accelerated me, and they outspeeded me, out-zoom climbed me, and whatsoever. So this plane is very good, even when stock, and when it gets upgraded, it might get even better. But how much better, that is something that I can't tell you by now. So it floods the matchmaker. It's not something rare to see entire teams or the majority of a team consisting of Yak-23s. This is the first battle, and it's one of the cases where there are not too many, where there are actually not too many Yak-23s. So most matches are maybe flavored with a few MiG-9s, and it doesn't also really matter if you see an up tier or not. You can perform against anything. I don't fear any kind of 8.0 jets. I don't fear to get attacked. I cannot run away from anything, or if it kind of catches me because I'm at low altitude and low speed, I still can somewhat outrun it, and by just turning with it and then using an exit window. Now the guns, the ammunition in particular, still might spark sometimes and might not one-shot every opponent, but to get guns on target is not the problem. To damage an enemy is not the problem, especially with teamwork and baiting and so forth. This plane just works very, very well. There is nothing too much that you can complain about. Maybe the lack of rockets or bombs for ground attacking, but that's about it. But I, for myself, have to really ask that question: why is this plane at a battle rating of 7.3? Because it makes no goddamn sense whatsoever when we just look at the performance. In fact, to make it very, very clear, this plane damages again the matchmaker. It's so good, and many people are convinced that it's so good that it gets spammed out, and you have to face multiple Yak-23s per battle, and they are very, very hard to come by effectively. In theory, yes, if you do teamwork and do this and that, yeah, but effectively for easy use, it's straightforward, it's efficient, it's deadly, it's fast, it's somewhat maneuverable. It's just extremely powerful. As you can see in the background, there are not that many 7.0, 7.3 jets that can do this. In fact, my first encounter with a Yak-23 was in the R2Y2 V3 when I played it to get the remaining upgrades, and I faced them on Spain, and they were just so fast and directly coming at me and just coming out of nowhere with such a speed that they were just zoom climbing me from sea level up to 3 kilometers. I assume those were fully upgraded ones, but even I can, without too many difficulties, zoom climb 2.5 kilometers stock. So this plane is extremely powerful. You really need to respect it, and to fly it, it's relatively straightforward. You don't need any kind of side climbing or zoom climbing. In fact, if this is a good starter jet or not is debatable, but if you learn by having success, this is definitely a good starter jet. If you can't get good results with this plane, you need to learn much more. If you're good in this plane, and you love to fly it around and fly it too often, in fact it might be a little bit bad because it teaches you bad habits. It doesn't teach you side climbing and team play too much. So again, the reason why Gaijin puts this at 7.3, I have no idea why. There are so many 8.0 jets, so many 9.0 jets that have less stock performance than this, that I have nothing. I have nothing to say about that. Especially when I have flown the French 8.0 plane, I really ask myself, what the hell is this doing at 8.0? The MD450B Overchamp. Even with having a lot of the upgrades and trying to get speed and stream climbing, no, I don't think that those jets can have anything going for them. That's my opinion. So the MD45B Overchamp doesn't feel competitive against the Yak-23. And so I again have no issues dealing whatsoever with 8.0 jets. And this is the maximum up tier that you can see. In fact, in down tiers, and this is really laughable, you can face props, and lots of them. Especially seal clubbing Spitfires, you know, the Mark 24 or Bearcats, which usually have a fighting chance against normal jets. You just can bully them, you can out-energize them. Sure, you cannot turn with them, for that the plane is not upgraded enough, I guess, or it just is optimized for different speed areas. But you just can zoom through, can do the boom and zoom thing, and everything that kind of catches you off guard, you just can point your nose straight downward and run. And I have catched even F-84s and P-80s and even Canberras and hunted them down. Yes, not instantly, but just give me time and I run them down. It's just a question if they reach the airfield before I hunt them down. And the 23mm do damage, as you could see in the clips. Maybe I stopped firing too early, and so I just got 3 kill assists in this battle and just 1 kill. But I think the toughest competition are other Yak-23 players, because they go in very aggressively, very direct, much like, I guess, Zero teams versus Americans down at lower battle ratings. So you kind of get a feeling how kind of seal clubby this plane is. I will fly this plane more often. I admit shamelessly, I will fly this more to get a feeling for the jet level. And if this is seal clubbing or this is just, you know, spading, is up to you. But I will fly it and I will upgrade it without spending a golden eagle. And this is very debatable if this was the kind of business model for Gaijin, because for balancing reasons this plane makes no sense. So again, misplacing a jet at 7.3 to frustrate planes around it, so they spend golden eagles to upgrade their planes, or try to get higher planes by just buying a premium aircraft to spade through the 8.0 black hole that jets is. I don't know, but whatever Gaijin's plan with this plane is, or what they have thought about it, I don't support it in terms of balance or competitiveness, because this plane just is way too good. Now, I've complained in the past about jets and their horrible stock grind, but it's because of planes like this that you really feel inferior in other nations' jets. And this is what me, or at least what prevents me from playing more jets. I cannot recommend flying against this plane. If you see facing an enemy Soviet team, and most of the players which are in queue at tier 5 are, you know, in the Soviet line at the moment, I wonder why, you kind of can count on facing nothing but Yak-23s. I'm not the first one to fly this plane. I don't think it's a secret. I'm not a person that shuts up about a plane that is kind of damaging the Matchmaker, which in my opinion this plane is. and it's not a secret anymore that this plane is so good. And again, I'm not that huge of a channel on YouTube that my opinion really influences the gameplay in War Thunder. So if you disagree, let me know in the comment section, because I have nothing. I literally have nothing. So again, let's summarize this plane. What you see in the background is completely stock. It's flown by arguably a chat noob, me. I have no problems whatsoever making it work. It feels too strong. You can go up to 10 kilometers of altitude without a problem, because you also have 112% boost that really does not overheat immediately, just after like 10-15 minutes, and then you can still go to 100%, or you can go back to base and rearm. The stock guns are not that much of a problem. The stock performance is really good. You can easily pull up to 12 Gs without ripping your wings, and negative Gs I also didn't manage to rip my wings, and I tried. You can go over 900 kilometers an hour, although you then face some compression. You have no need for weapon upgrades immediately. Sure, they will get better if you upgrade them, more precise and so forth, but you know, you deal with 23 millimeters, which you should know by now when you look at the remaining Soviet tech tree. It has a steady and safe income, in my opinion. You must not spend gold needle, or you do not have to spend gold needles to upgrade it by just playing it. It's not very frustrating. In fact, it's very fun to play, and you just win the games. You can easily intercept B-29s, which are the actual threat, because they can bomb out your bases if there are 4 of them. You can easily intercept them. You still have to aim carefully, and 50 cal still can destroy you. But I think there are so many more jets at 7.0, 7.3, and even up 8.0 that can't do what you can do, and it's a straightforward plane. If this is a very good starter jet again, or if this is one of the worst starter jets because it teaches you bad habits in how to engage your enemies, I don't know how to think about this. But for me personally, if I would have to pick any 7.0, 7.3, or hell even 8.0 jet that I know of, I'd go for this one. And again, the toughest competition for any kind of kills are other Yak-23s. And yeah, even the MiG-9 struggles to get itself into position to get kills. For sure, it cannot intercept B-29s like this one can, in terms of getting up to altitude and zoom climbing and whatsoever. And I've encountered also Yak-23s on the enemy team, and it was not fun. Again, this was the first battle that I ever played that you currently see ending in the background. The energy retention is insane, the climb rate is insane, top speed. This plane, as a fighter's player plane, leaves no wishes to be desired. So, let's have a quick look at the income, and after that I will end the video. But I have to ask you to give me your opinion in the comment section. So we're looking at 53,000 silver lines and 5,500 research points. And you can see this was the very first battle that I played, going for the fuselage repair, for 3 kill assists and 1 kill. I think this is very nice. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other in the skies of War Thunder.